I want to go ahead and introduce you to Dr. Roseann. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. I'm moving some stuff around on my screen because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I know all about this amazing woman, but I want to make sure that I read off of it just because I don't want to miss anything. I met Dr. Roseann last year, by the way, and we have a lot of similarities in our passion of what we do. Both of us work in the field of mental health and chronic disease like Lyme. She focuses on children, where our focus is on adults. But she is a psychologist, a pediatric mental health expert, to be more specific, and she's the founder and director of the Global Institute of Children's Mental Health. And she's based out of Connecticut. She works with thousands of clients all around the world with some of the most challenging conditions out there, like ADD, autism, anxiety and depression, learning disabilities, people that have had traumatic brain injuries, like with multiple concussions. She works with kids who are struggling with Lyme disease and all of the complications of the neurological stuff that happens, and with PANS and PANDAS. So she treats that whole gamut of different conditions that really affect the nervous system and the brain. She has been featured on Mel Robbins, Fox News, NBC, CBS, like every acronym out there, right? She's been on it. Welcome, and thank you so much, Dr. Roseann, for being here with us today.
Well, there we go. Thank you so much for having me and that lovely intro. I feel really blessed that I got to know you. We do really believe very similarly about physical and mental health and how mind, body, and spirit are all connected. You know, I'm all about root causes and have been for 30 years. And, you know, this is a hard time for people. And I'm going to give you some real actionable tips to bring some calm into that chaos that you feel is happening. And there are many things that people can do, as you've been talking about, but there are many things you can do to make yourself feel in control, because the loss of feeling you're in control, this uncertainty, this chaos, this overwhelm is something that you can get a handle on. And when you do that, I promise you, you won't feel as anxious.
That's so amazing, and I'm really excited to jump into that. You know, before we jump into some of this, just remember, everyone, I know that there's so much uncertainty. I'm seeing some of the comments coming through, you know, in the chat box. We're going to spend the next hour and a half actually together. Stay present and stay focused on the information that Dr. Roseann is going to share with you today, and that afterwards, Rosita, our repatterning therapist, is going to walk you through an actual exercise. And I want you to see how you feel after hanging out with us. We're all a family, we're all a tribe, we're coming together to help each other. When you stay present, your brain doesn't have time to be fearful and conjure up all the what ifs. So just take a breath. And Dr. Roseann, go ahead and lead us into you know, some of the things that we can start implementing.
Yeah, and you know, I would say that if anybody has any specific questions, I want to be able to answer them. So certainly put them in the chat. You know, mental health is something, you know, I've been doing for almost 30 years, and I do specialize in kids, but I work with all ages, including adults, and lots of elderly folk as well. And, you know, this is unprecedented. This is something we have never experienced, but all of us have experienced something in our lives that was incredibly hard. There is not one person here that has not like made it through something that you didn't think you were going to make it through. So you can do that again. It's just as a collective, people are feeling overwhelmed. You might even be freaking out, whatever it is. And you know, it's okay to have these feelings. These are valid feelings. What is not okay is living in them. If you're really anxious or you're feeling really depressed, you know, when you stay there, it feeds itself. So I want to talk about what we can do within ourselves, both things we can do in our environment, things we can do with our mindset, because, you know, our mindset is absolutely what we can take control over. So we can control the thoughts that we're having, even though we feel like we can't. And, you know, not even in this crisis, I'm sure people, you know, here, and, you know, all of us have experienced when we have what I call looping thoughts, like worried thoughts that seem like, please, somebody put a pause on that. And, you know, you're probably at times feeling like this. And, you know, in this whole process, you know, okay, what can we do? What can we control? We're going to talk about that. But this is almost like the stages of grief, and that we're going to have, like, in our rolling out of every US, you know, state and other countries, everyone is handling things sort of differently. We don't have a national, like, okay, this is a shutdown and these are the expectations, even though other countries have done that. And that's okay. But what it means is we're experiencing things as a collective in different timelines, right? So, like, I'm very close to New York City, and that was one of the hot areas, right? So even just 40 minutes from here, the National Guard took over New Rochelle, New York, 2 weeks ago. And nobody can leave. So that probably sends panic into people, but this is what is, we have a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainties, but what it is that, you know, day one, when you're told you're under quarantine, you're going to have a set of feelings. Day two, you're going to be like, oh my God, what the heck am I going to do? And day three, you're going to be like, I got this. What can I do? What can I put in control? And so the first part, I think, of just saving your sanity, whether you're a mom with homeschooling, you're working from home, you're a grandparent, whatever's going on, is you need to set a routine. And I think that is critical. I don't know, Dr. Elena, how much have you talked about that?
We haven't been, well, you know what? Today we're talking more about the routine. We did talk about that in one of our blogs. Okay. But now we get to talk about it more because routine is super, super important right now.
So important. And you are used to a routine, whether you're working or not. And putting a routine gives predictability for yourself. And if you're a mom or a dad homeschooling right now, boy, your kids need a routine. And just to know, and having a routine gives your subconscious and your conscious state a sense of control. And I'm going to really talk about what you can control to build resilience. You know, so, you know, this is a time when we may be feeling a sense of panic, and that's okay if you're feeling a sense of panic right now. We're going to talk about what you can do. We'll talk about what's normal and when you need to reach out and get a licensed therapist too. But a routine allows your nervous system to say, okay, I got this next, I got that next. And what I've been recommending for routine, what I'm doing for myself is, you know, every day I have a different schedule because of my work, but my son, who's, you know, doing virtual homeschooling, doesn't. So we made a routine. We went over it. He's a great example of this kid that's like super easy, but actually kept showing anxiety and kept saying, I'm really worried. And he actually said, because he's a therapist kid, he said, I have anxiety over this schedule. My husband, I shouldn't laugh, but everybody who knows me knows that, like, no matter what's going on, I'm going to crack a joke, and we need to all laugh, and we shouldn't feel guilty about that. Today, I have a group chat with my girlfriends about what I'm grateful for. And let me tell you what I'm grateful for, that nobody's on the highway, so that I can drive without, you know, just getting there and nobody, it's a very high traffic area where I live. So, you know, yes, I'm grateful for my family's health, but we also need to have like a sense of laughter and whatever. We had such a giggle about it because everybody who knows me knows that in the real world, as insignificant it may seem, driving for work for me in the morning is my number one petty annoyance in the world. And I do EFT tapping when I drive, in between honking and flashing my lights. But I hope everybody gets a good giggle out of that. God help us, we all need some laughs. So having a routine, and here's my child where I said, okay, so tell me what you're worried. And he said, I'm worried I'm not gonna be able to do the schedule. Okay. So I said, do you think it would be helpful if we actually did a dry run? And he was like, yes. And then I was like, is there anything else you would need? And he said, well, you're going to be busy at work. I need daddy to sit with me the first day. Okay, no problem. We were able to do that. And so, giving your kids a sense of that predictability, and that's what he needed, and dialoguing is really important. So having a routine, your routine, I know if you're at home, put in there breakfast at 7, workout at 8, stick to your routine. I'm going to call my girlfriends, start a book club. I mean, these are the other things, the social things. And if it has to change every day, great, but create a routine, because it's going to help you in a lot of ways to get through this. And it won't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be inside for 2 weeks, or whatever it is in your parameters of the world, right? So I think that's the first thing that needs to happen. And when you do that, you're going to be like, okay, don't feel so overwhelmed, right? Because overwhelm, panic, and fear of the unknown are the top 3 things that I'm seeing, right? So then, the second thing is, let's control our thoughts, okay? So what can we do to control our thoughts? Boy, we can actually do a lot. And there's no one way to do anything, whether it's calming the nervous system or controlling your thoughts. I'm going to give you tips that you can do, and you can test out if they feel good. But, as somebody who is a positive person, no matter what, right? And I have the blessing of having not 1 but 2 special needs children. And my older son has chronic Lyme. And because of that, his medical issues dictated my entire life, and my husband's life, our family life. And every decision had to be made about what's in the best interest of Max's health. And boy, did that give me a lot of clarity about everything in life, right? So I looked at it as a blessing, and a lot of blessings came because of that. And yes, Max does okay, and Max is still a challenge, and he's always going to be a challenge, even when I'm 80 and he's 50. It's still going to be that way, because he's just that way. So, it's all your outlook, right? So you can control how you phrase things to your internal self in your dialogue, and you can control things on what you say on the outside. So in the terms of the world and energy, when we make negative statements, they're much more likely to happen. And why is that? There's a belief that, there's quantum physics, right, that our energy interacts, but really it's about your subconscious, which is totally in control. Between 95 and 99.5% of the time, your subconscious is in control. So, all of us ladies who are here running this panel right now, boy, do we have good brains. And so do you. But guess what? Our subconscious is in control whether we want to accept it or not. So we always think we could just override things with rational thought. It's just not that way. That's only happening between 0.5 and 5% of the time. So when we make statements like, I'm going to use the example of an athlete, right? So athletes are all about mindset and doing things. So when we say, wow, I'm really going to suck at this and I'm going to lose, guess what? You're going to probably really suck at it and going to lose. But when you say, I'm going to win this race and I'm going to beat the record, and, every fiber in you believes that, you're making a declaration, you're visualizing, you're seeing yourself. This is powerful, powerful stuff. We know this time and time again. You know it in research. I mean, our thoughts can, and how we make statements can actually control our immune function. I mean, there's just tons of research with cancer about this and different things, and white cells. So make positive declarations. Say it outside and say it internally. And it's really, really powerful, and you can do that. And if you really want to ramp it up, you could do what I do, and I visualize everything. So what I actually do is, when I want something, I, spend time thinking about what I want to have happen, and I see it. and I say, this is what's going to happen. I see it, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's part of why I've been really successful with, you know, doing a lot of media, is I literally say, this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to be on this show. And I just did that right now, and they already contacted me. So you can't say I want to win lotto though, and you got to play it to win it, right? But, you know, in this moment, what you can do is you can say, I'm not only going to get through this moment and survive, I'm going to thrive. And paint that picture for yourself, what it looks like. Okay. See yourself being calm. See yourself calmly asking your snarky children if they've got their homework done, right? Because everybody's kids are going to give them pushbacks. Like, I have been posting on social that even my kids, and showing pictures of them having tantrums, you know, and I ask my kids permission. They know that we post these things. They're really funny. And so, you know, these are the things that you can take control of. Maybe you need to make a vision board for yourself. Like, you know, you certainly have nothing but time. We might as well use it, right? And that's my next tip, is like, be productive. You're in your house. What can you do? Make a list of all the things, you know, make your immediate list, make your wish list. We don't know. The uncertainty is we don't know how long this quarantine is going to last. That's okay. And that's where you can take control over, okay, maybe I'm going to clean a drawer every day. Like, who the heck wants to do that? But boy, doesn't it feel good when you clean a drawer? Yeah. So, and, you know, maybe it's working on a book. Maybe it's, you know, knitting. You know, it just is so personal and unique to you, you know. Maybe this is the time you're going to rework your diet, you know, and you're really going to get super healthy. You know, maybe you're going to make a pantry cookbook. We did. You know, just different things. Keep yourself occupied and busy, and it will help to, when you engage on a physical level, your nervous system regulates, your mind won't drift into negative thinking. You know, it's really important, right? I know, and my girls are over here shaking their heads. So I could talk forever. So, you know, if anybody has a question or anything, you know, you want to chime in, you know, please do. I really appreciate it. You know, my job is, you know, I'm all about providing, as well as Dr. Elena, you know, providing natural alternatives to support our nervous system. And obviously what I do is related to mental health, but it's very much related to physical health, and that's important.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the things that you're mentioning, they're so powerful, and I just kind of want to, I want to take a couple minutes to add to that. We're seeing a lot of people that are panicking, but then when I'm getting on calls with them, you know, they're not, I'm asking them, have you written in your gratitude journal today? Have you done any of your breathing techniques that I told you about? You know, have you opened up a book to read it? They're not doing any of that. So I just want to address that for a minute, okay? We've all grown up, and for a couple of generations now, in a world that, you know, where our daily routines are not serving us. I mean, we've been walking a tight rope. And now that this has happened, you know, it's like the last straw that broke the camel's back kind of a scenario. Why? Because we've been walking a tightrope, like we haven't been doing the things that are serving us. There is no magic pill for this. And many, you know, many people who, you know, who are reaching out to us who are not even our clients, you know, they're like, what can I take? What can I take? I need to calm down. No, there is no magic pill. And even if you could get a hold of the Xanax, you know, right now through your doctor to like chill you out, it is not going to fix the problem. You can't bury your problem under a drug. You can't bury it under your, you know, under your work. You need to wake up. You know, we all need to wake up. This is a wake up call for us. I see a lot of good coming out of this because we have put our health, we put our mental health, our spiritual health, and our physical health on the back burner for years, walking that tightrope, burning the candle at both ends. We've been playing roulette with our lives. And, you know, now that this has happened, people are flipping out. And, you know, and they don't even know what tools are available to them. They think that it's it's going to be in the form of Xanax or some kind of a pill. It is not. And so the things that we're sharing with you today, we've had the last week or the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about all the medical side, all the newest updates, all that. But this is the most important stuff that we need to be doing. And so when Dr. Roseann is sharing these things with you, take it and use it like your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. If you cannot, raise your consciousness and see what's really going on and realize that you do need to implement these different things, you're going to be in a world of trouble. And so, we are here to provide these things for you because we love you and we know that this stuff works. So, I just want to take a couple minutes. I had to jump on that and just really, really let you guys know this stuff is the most important stuff. How you respond to a crisis is way more important than the crisis itself. So,
bam, that right there, how you respond. And so the thing is, from a mental health perspective, this is where I want to validate your feelings. So you are feeling, worried and about a lot of things. You're feeling, there's so many feelings that are coming through you in waves, right? And that's what's happening. It's in waves that you feel immobilized. And sometimes we always don't take action when we feel immobilized. And so what I want you to do is start small. So when we're like, do this, do that, whatever, I've spent my whole lifetime, I was raised holistic. Like, I don't know another way. Like my youngest has never even had wheat, for Christ's sake. So, whenever somebody's like, wow, your kids eat this, and this, like their number one favorite food is calamari, their number two is octopus, and their number 3 is steak. That's not normal American children, but that's what they were raised in. That's what they're known that, when I ask them to meditate, they're like, sure. They talk to their friends about meditation. They don't know anything different, right? So I want to honor that this may be, you're in here getting help, but this is part of your journey. So the way to do it is to pick one thing, start with that, pay attention to your body. What does your body feel like when you gratitude journal, if that's what you chose? Or you did some EFT tapping, we're going to talk about that. Pay attention, connect to that, let the relief happen for you. And so choose something. Also, choose to not let the thoughts come to you. And that may feel like the hardest thing, right? But there are tips and techniques. So the first, Dr. Elena's already talking about breathing. You could do a 5, 7, 8 breath. I don't know which breath you're doing. There's 360 breathing, just deep breathe. So, in through the nose for 5 seconds, hold for 7, out for 8. And when you are having thoughts, okay, and all of us have thoughts, every one of us, including me, there's worry that comes in, right? And I'm telling you, I'm not freaking out because I'm so busy that I don't even have a moment to freak out. And, I'm designed for crisis. I'm like a wonderful crisis person. I treated people from 9/11. I was there, helping people at Sandy Hook, so in a lot of levels, both personally, as I shared with some of the things that has happened with having somebody with chronic Lyme disease and PANDAS in my life, and all the unfortunate repercussions about that, and also in professional world. But so what do you do when thoughts are coming in? So a quick hack when you are doing a 5, 7, 8 breath is actually to stick your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Okay, this little thing, you're going to concentrate on holding your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you're not going to have any thoughts. You're going to be like, Roseann, that's like money. It's awesome. And it is true. It really, you're like, hold your tongue up there, and it just shuts off the looping in your brain, like a quick little hack right there, right? And then, what you can also do is when a negative thought comes in, you can make a positive affirmation statement to yourself in the inside, or even better, on the outside, right? So, I love and accept myself. I'm doing the best I can, right? So that's kind of a hard statement for people, right? And then you want to amp it up to the next level. You can say that you can do EFT tapping. We'll talk about EFT tapping. You just go to this clavicle point right here. There's a whole, you can look up on the tapping solution for how to actually properly tap, get onto YouTube. And you can look up, the Ortners have great videos. You can tap like this. This is the karate. I do this because it's like, again, I'm doing it when I'm driving. But I'm not doing it right. I'm doing it today. Like I find myself all of a sudden something uncomfortable makes me feel uncomfortable, and emotions are supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. So what Dr. Elena is talking about is Xanax isn't going to freaking turn that off. It's going to push it down. And when you push it down, it will rear its head in ugly ways. And you're just going to make it be a big pile of stuff that's going to hurt you. And you need to feel the emotion, honor it, and then move on, right? So when we do breath work, when we do all these things, we're not shoving it down. We're letting it incorporate into our system, but then move it in a place that it's where it's supposed to be, right? So, right, Dr. Elena, you see people that are like, I've been taking this. I had people that came to me and took Ativan twice a day. I'm like, Ativan twice a day? The person should be like arrested who gave you that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like when you shove your emotions down and you ignore them, it's like a pressure cooker. Like it's going to get it, it's only going to get worse. And one of the things that I like to do is kind of envision what it looks like to embrace your emotion, because people are like, what the heck does that mean? So imagine, for those of us who are parents, your child, all of a sudden, they're screaming or they're crying and you go running to them. Or maybe your kid, you can tell that something's wrong, but they won't talk to you about it. What do? You go to your kid, you go, it's okay. Talk to mommy. Tell me how you're feeling. It's okay. And then they talk to you, and what do? You embrace them, all of them, which includes their emotions too. You're physically embracing them, but you're spiritually embracing them with love and acceptance. And then you're like, it's going to be okay. Well, how come we don't do that to ourselves? It's because we weren't taught to do that. We weren't taught to do that. Embrace it. Say to yourself, okay, come face to face with that emotion in your mind and in your heart, and just listen to it. Say, okay, tell me what's going on. Because I've been busy doing all this stuff, but you keep popping up in here like a broken record. Tell me what's going on.
I love that, Dr. Elena. That's beautiful. Embrace yourself.
Yeah, and allow yourself.
We're the last person on our list.
Yeah, we are. We always are. But if we'll just sit there and listen to ourselves speak, listen to the emotion, and allow yourself to feel it. Don't be afraid. Everybody's so afraid of the emotion. If you feel tears come out of your eyes, or you feel like the chest gets tight or whatever, allow it. Just remember to breathe through it. Breathe through the emotion. Feel it. Allow yourself to have the emotion. And if you cry or whatever, that's fine. And then, just like you would remember to do with your child, give them a hug. Give yourself a hug and say, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I mean, that's kind of that's the example that I'm using to embrace your own negative feeling or emotion, so that you can walk through it and then let it go.
Well, we're also used to living in this super anxious mode, right? So for those people that live in cities, or, I live right near New York City, as I mentioned earlier, and I feel like I work with people all over, not just the United States, but other countries. But, when I have my Northeast folk, holy crap, we're like, just like me, when I drive on the highway, I'm like, get out of my way, because I got places to go and I'm more important than you. No, it's not. It's me, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think that we need to use this, right? Crisis is your learning opportunity, right? So I am grateful for every awful thing that has happened to me. And even where I am today, and even knowing Dr. Elena happened because 2 years ago, I had a situation where somebody put my life in jeopardy, and I was completely betrayed. It was somebody that I knew and cared about, and it was awful. I can't even tell you, it took me 10 days to not just cry and break into tears. And let me tell you, anybody knows me, I'm tough as nails. I'm that girl you want in a bar fight with you. because I got my stuff together. And I was just like sucker punched, right? And I was like, what is my lesson here? What is my lesson here, right? And there was a big lesson for me. And my lesson was that I was playing small and that I needed to support people on a broader scale. And that's what I completely pivoted. So I'm only sharing my story because you have your story, right? Every one of us has gone through something that absolutely stinks. And you are here today because you learned and you grew from it. So it's just like right now, we're just feeling those big emotions, right? And we're not only for us, those of us that are mothers, we're not only handling our emotions, we're handling our children's emotions. So the first thing you need to do is put your oxygen mask on, right? Because if you don't put your oxygen mask, your kids are going to know you don't have your stuff together. And they're going to be like, okay, Mom, you're telling me not to worry, but you are freaking out, you know, and they're going to feel it, right? You're going to show it. What is that going to look like? You might be sweating. You might be wringing wringing your hands. Like you might not be looking at them. You might be saying it's going to be okay and actually going, it's going to be okay. Like people don't realize when their body tells you exactly how somebody's feeling. And so put your oxygen mask on, take a minute to calm yourself, whatever it is that you need to do. And you absolutely 100% have that power. You absolutely do. There is not one person that doesn't have that power. You may feel like it. And even if you let your kid be your motivation for a moment, let your kid be that motivation. And so, you know, a lot of my questions been coming up on my media interviews and even right now in our chat is, you know, how do I talk to my kids about this stuff? And I think this is a really, really important question. So, you know, first of all, developmentally appropriate. So we're going to talk about, you know, what ages, how do you talk to kids? And it's so interesting because at first, I think all the kids were sort of handling it differently. And now the unique needs of each population. And I think out of all the groups of everybody that's handling things, the best is actually the younger kids. So because kids still believe everything we tell them, including that Santa Claus exists, right? So, so when we say, you know, hey, you know, I've been using the example, I have this, my 9-year-old, his name is John Carlo, and he's as delightful as his name. He's my partner in crime. He's a lot of fun. And he's like 57, but he's not. And so I had been traveling up to a couple weeks ago, and just so everybody knows, I'm taking for week 5 of level 10 antivirals, and I'm good. So I'm not saying it works for me. I know it works for me. So plus I do daily meditation and I do PMF and biofeedback every day, 7 days a week, crisis or not. And so he said to me, Mom, my last trip to LA, he said, Mom, are you worried about this coronavirus? And I said, no, John Carlo, I'm actually not. And I told him what I was doing, and he said, okay, and he left and he went on his way. Now, obviously, we're way beyond that, right? But I know that when he knows that when I reassure him, and I give him TLC, and I love to give squeezes, right? You got to squeeze your kids, even your teenagers, as much as you can. And I think teenagers are letting people squeeze. He took that reassurance. I gave him easy facts, even at every stage. Right now, what does homeschooling look like? And you know, I told you he got some anxiety about it. We dug deep, right? I could tell by how he was moving his hands when he was talking to me. And he's also a Virgo, and Virgos need to have a schedule in advance. And if you try to mess with their schedule, not gonna work. So I knew that would be my hurdle for him, was day 1 of homeschooling. Now he's like, Mom, don't even walk into the room when I'm homeschooling. Like, he doesn't even want to see me. He's like, I'm hanging out with my friends. Of course, we go to a progressive, super fun hippie school. So, so, you know, give those younger kids, give all ages of kids basic facts. Be present when you're there. Do not be on your phone. I know we're working from home. I'm going to talk about managing that a little bit, but be present so that you can see if they're showing you signs of worry, and they can see you and how you're going to radiate calm the best of your ability. And don't lie to them. If they say you're worried, say, I am worried, but this is what I'm doing to help control that worry. And this is what we can do as a family. And I think that's really important. And teens, your middle schoolers are going to sort of be in between where they're at, right? The biggest issue for tweens and high schoolers is actually the loss of social connections and independence. So that has really been coming up as a big issue that, our college kids or high schooler kids who are used to just getting independence, they're pretty PO'd about it. And so with our teenagers and how to talk to them, I say you preemptively jump in and be like, wow, I'm really hearing from your Aunt Betty, who's a teacher, the kids are thinking that, and say what are your thoughts on that? Everybody knows don't ask kids yes and no questions. Okay, so just best tip of anybody working. You have to ask an open-ended question. You can't say, how was school today? You're going to say, what did you do in your French class today? See how it's like that's a pro tip. So, so in these dialogues, don't ask yes or no questions, but also don't grill them like it's the Spanish Inquisition either. So, right? You got to be present. And everybody knows Elena's cracking up. I talk to everybody like this. This is how I am all the time. I just am very practical, and we need to hear things that people can do. So I think that's important. And, look for your kids acting out. Look for your kids, screaming. I, had somebody ask about that their grandchild said that they wanted to harm themselves. And so what's a clinical issue for yourself? What's not a clinical issue? So kids are going to show stress responses. Guess what? Lots of hugs, lots of TLC, lots of connections. Offer them ways, like, what are your friends doing? Like, why don't you guys do a Zoom meeting? How about playing whatever, Crimes Against Humanity? That's a team game. Or something virtually, like offer them support, get a Zoom account. I don't know how much Zoom's going to be lasting with everybody getting on Zoom, but give them practical things that maybe they haven't thought of. What I do think teens are really rising in this, and they're finding these really cool ways to connect, as well as adults. Like, as my friends are doing book club and knitting club, and, they're getting together. It's pretty cool, actually. So that's the flip side. Like, we realize how important health is, both physical and mental, and social health and connectedness, right? Like, since it got removed, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing, my annoying coworker, and these four walls aren't looking so good, so get out, do what you can, and, try your best, right? But I think, for teenagers in particular who developmentally want to cut off from you, it's just trying to be physically connected to them to the best you can and check in, I think is probably my best advice. And if you think somebody has a clinical issue, so if somebody has a pre-existing mental health issue, we want to watch them more, right? So if your child or yourself already had anxiety or depression, please make sure you're virtually meeting with your therapist. Do not put that on pause. I know here we've always had virtual therapy sessions. I know you guys do. And we've had almost nobody drop off, which I'm so grateful for. So some people did say, well, I want to put this on pause for 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks is the magic number. We're going to be out.
The worst time. It's the worst time to do that. You need to connect with your therapist now and your team of healthcare practitioners now, especially those of you who are already working with virtual, with virtual coaches and therapists. Like, you guys are the lucky ones, because all the other ones who don't yet know, poor people, like they need a lifeline. But you need to connect stronger more now than ever. And 100%. Some of you, yeah. And I see some of you who are our clients who are on right now. And I'm like hugging you right now. I'm hugging all of you that are on right now. But for those of you that are on, good for you. Stay connected with us, because, you definitely want to do that right now. And if you have friends or you have family and you see that they're going down the rabbit hole,
Right.
You yank them out and connect them with somebody who can do virtual coaching with them, somebody who can grab them and help, put their legs back under them again.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And so there's the stress, coaching, there's coaching, and, we support people in both ways. And then there's clinical issues. Like for right now, we do a lot of specialty work in OCD, and my OCD people for weeks have been feeling it because of the hand washing and the compulsiveness around germs. And, some people have said like, oh, could I just OCD at this time? I mean, it is possible. OCD always starts with high level anxiety, and it always starts with looping thoughts. It doesn't have to be an outward behavioral compulsion. It can be compulsive thinking. So, stay connected to your provider. And if you feel like somebody is really extreme, like whenever somebody does threaten to harm themselves, I'm not your classic psychotherapist who thinks, oh my God, that means you have to be admitted into a psych hospital, which is like the worst place in the world for mental health. Certainly if there's complete safety issues, that's the best that we have, and that's where you have to go. But sometimes kids make stupid statements, and they're only stupid because there's things that could get them into trouble, but it's a red flag is what it is. These are red flag statements like, hello, I'm in complete distress. Like, it wouldn't be unusual for a child on the spectrum or ADD who's impulsive and not really necessarily thinking about what the response would be from others to make these kind of statements. So, if anybody ever has a plan of self-harm, that requires professional care. You need to find a licensed mental health professional in your state immediately. And there are set up virtually. But if you're unsure, you can be coached through these things, like, places, at Dr. Roseann Associates, but you can also, go on to Psychology Today in your area and find somebody. And there's people everywhere that are great mental health professionals, and it's not a time to do that.
Yeah.
You need to stay connected to your therapist, and there's no shame in it. I think what's really happened in these 30 years is, like, I love all the celebs that are out there like, I go to a therapist, because guess what? We're all feeling it. And sometimes, just like right now, I'm giving you hacks. Like, these are things, a therapist is a learning coach. They are not, I don't do therapy where you get to talk about your mother all day. Call somebody else.
Yeah.
We're about change and learning and guiding and holding your hand. And that comes through steps, and not complaining. So we are not a complaining therapist group, but we're here to support and tug you and TLC you up like no other. But that's important because you need to take steps, and that's what Dr. Elaine is here about, in all the health components. And the health things that you can do are incredible for helping your nervous system, absolutely incredible. So you want to, eat, certain way, right? Then it's only going to boost your neurotransmitter activity if we have foods with, a certain amount of fat in them and nutrients and, phytonutrients through rainbow colored vegetables, which are readily available at the grocery store because nobody's buying those right now.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. When we went to the grocery store, all of the fresh produce, it's all fully stocked. But you go down the aisles and, like, the chips are gone. The salsa was gone. Like, all of the processed packaged foods were gone. It was like, oh my gosh, like, these people really need help. I wanted to steer the conversation a little bit. And thought maybe we could go into some Q&A, some questions.
Yeah.
And we can spend the next couple of minutes doing that. I've got one here. It's from Marianne, who says, hi, Marianne. I know I said hi to you earlier. She says, I have two sons, 19 and 21, who have moved home from college. They have had freedom to create their own schedules, from how late they can stay up, eating in the middle of the night, playing, loud video games till the wee hours of the morning, and sleeping until late in the day. But
wondering on how to set a schedule, Marianne.
It looks like, yeah, she says it's disrupting her husband and the 17-year-old daughter, who actually looks like they are trying to maintain a schedule. So what's going to be the best way to approach them to get them willing to,
So my first question is this, that are they actually still taking courses right now? Yes. Okay. So we're going to start with there. Thank you that they have courses. So, I say this opens up as a conversation and say, listen, this is so stressful for everybody. I'm feeling it. You're feeling it. You might even be sleeping a lot because you're, just feeling so stressed out. How can I help you? And then see what comes up, right? Because then there's no defense, right? Because teenagers and college kids are going to be like, the wall up, right? Whether you are so nice or not, like I could barely even get a word out. My teenager is like, so fine, right? And it even happens to Dr. Roseann. So it happens to everybody. It's just normal development. And then I would flip the schedule and say, like, listen, the topic of conversation, and bring it to the schedule and say, listen, and this is the hard thing. Like, are they getting their work done? Are they not getting their work done? Is probably a question that is important. And I don't know the way colleges work today. It's not like you have any access to that because of of privacy laws. But your kids. Are your kids the kind of kids that can sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, get all their work done and whatnot? So she's saying, yeah. So what's important here, right? So is it the disruption of the family schedule, or can you ignore them? Because if you can ignore them, but I would just lay it out and say, we have to figure something out. What's a happy medium? And ask them to tell you what they think is a happy medium without telling them. Because the moment you tell them, the answer is no. Now, with that being said, I'm assuming that because they're in college, that they're a little more mature. So the way boys work in maturity is age 15 is a maturity time point. And then early 20s is another time point, right? Like 20, 21. And then they kind of really don't get big shifts in maturity again until like 28. They mature very differently. Marianne's like, thanks, Roseann. They mature differently than girls. Girls have like a steadier maturity level. Mood disorder girls are a little different. Obviously, anybody with a neurodevelopmental disorder in both males and females are a little different. But those are sort of like the standard. You can have boys that are a little outside of that frame. But that's sort of like the developmental window when a lot of things happen and they just get a greater awareness outside of themselves. They're so egocentric, and developing lovely human beings, but egocentric, right? So I would just see what comes out of them. Usually if you ask somebody to negotiate and you let them think of it, if they think of it, they're going to be way more likely to do it, right? For any of us that are business people, this is what happens.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, that makes so much sense when you're saying that. I'm like, because, I would think that if you ask him to come up with a solution and say, yeah, you know what, like, we're really struggling. I know your sister's really struggling because she can't sleep at night from the noise, and your dad and I, blah, 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 blah. And I was just wondering if you could help me maybe come up with a solution for that, or, something like that. Like, he can come up with a solution himself without you saying, you need to stop doing this, which is just going to create, more separation, right?
And if they, they don't come up with a solution, which I'd be surprised if they didn't come up with something. And, kids sometimes come up with things better than what we think. Like, it's pretty cool. They're so cool, right? But if they come up with a solution and they don't honor it, then it's like, hey, listen, you came up with this great idea. I'm totally on board. But yet, you don't really seem committed to it. And I'm really in a hard place because your dad has to do this, or your dad's noise sensitive, or like all the million reasons why, and say, like, what can I do to help you honor this commitment? And then, it's hard to get punchy with you when you say things so nice like that. You know what I mean? So, and if you're really struggling with family communication, like, and you do have history with working with a therapist, call that therapist up. Like, we're doing a lot of this kind of parent coaching with people is almost just to negotiate some of these issues, But, thank you for bringing this up, Marianne, because I feel like this is the biggest thing nobody's talking about right now is these college kids and high schoolers that have all this independence, and now you're all quarantined together, and it's like, guess what? It's tough to navigate, and everybody's going to get on everybody's nerves.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was such a really great solution and a great approach for that. The next question is someone saying, I'm doing everything to try to sleep. I'm trying tapping, Tai Chi, yoga, no luck. Any suggestions, Dr. Roseann, that you want to share? And then I might jump in too. So
yeah, I would say, first of all, amp it up. So sometimes we only do these things before bed. And what's happening is your nervous system is getting into a hyper state throughout the day. So like I always say, here's the bottom of your nervous system, here's the top, and we're supposed to idle down here, and then you start idling up here, and you're in this hyper state, and you're gonna all kinds of things can go offline or hyper or whatnot when you're in this state. Your limbic system activates. Information will hit you too hard. So you need to make sure that you're doing this throughout the day. So every hour on the hour, set the timer, in your phone. It looks like this. I got a timer set for 2:25. Not for that, but for something else. Put a timer on every hour. Put something sweet, like your favorite song, to remind you. Don't put a startling alarm, and just say that's my reminder to do my 3, 5, 7, 8 breaths. And you need to get your nervous system down in a different idle state. So that's really critical. So that's one part, breath. You're already eating as well as you can. Pay attention to when you eat certain foods. If you feel better, this is a time to amp up some healthy fats, which really helps with neurotransmitter activity. You want to exercise as much as you can, regardless of your space. There isn't a space anywhere. I don't care if you're living in a 500 square foot studio apartment in New York. There isn't a space anywhere you can't exercise. Get soup cans out, start doing weightlifting on that, do plank, downward dog, Google yoga. You can use it in a very confined space. Somebody says Epsom salt bath. Amazon is still delivering. My number one favorite is a magnesium soak. And I know we're under bad stress times, but your nervous system knows no difference between good and bad stress. And so this girl who has all this fun stuff in her life, actually, if I don't do a magnesium bath 2 to 3 times a week, I'm not sleeping. Plus I'm in perimenopause, but I'm thriving through perimenopause because I take excellent care of myself. And so, but it's called Ancient Minerals Magnesium Bath. I don't know if you have another one, Dr. Elena, that you like.
I like that one. That's a really good one.
Love that. I got it on auto ship. It comes every month. And you can do a bath with some lavender. You can do Epsom salt. Do whatever. Be very intentful. Like when you go to do a practice, say this is a positive statement. I'm going to feel much better when I do this. Yeah. It's going to happen. I promise you. You're going to tell yourself that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So regular things. And then, you can, I don't know what kind of supplements you take for sleep. I certainly not only do magnesium baths, but I take 3 different kinds of magnesium after 6 o'clock. I start preparing myself for sleep because I'm a spaz and my brain goes all the time. So I need to do things. I also do PMS. You can do heart math biofeedback. And, just do your best. I don't have carbs. I try not to eat after 6 o'clock anyway, but really particularly at night, I'm paleo. So I do have some gluten-free grains. Yeah. And we did get a box of gluten-free donuts, and boy, were they good. Did we each have one, right? But that's it, just the one box. Yeah. No sugar, those kind of things, stimulatory things at night. Just get into a rhythm and a lifestyle and just do the best you can. And look up EFT tapping for sleep, and multiple times a day do these things, multiple times. And I think that will be really, really helpful.
Yeah. Those are some really amazing tips and powerful ones too. And then a couple of the things that I'm thinking of are, were you having problems sleeping before all of this stuff started happening? Because that can kind of, help us to help you, right? To, kind of really dial down on that. But just like Roseann said, like, do everything that you know. And if you don't know everything about sleep hygiene and all things you can do, go online. That's something that you can Google. Staying away from your electronics in the evening. You've got to detox from that, because the blue light from all the electronics, whether it's your television or your phone or your iPad, it actually shunts or shuts off melatonin production at night. And you have to have that so that you can go into your sleep mode. You might consider turning off your Wi-Fi at night. That can actually keep people awake and prevent them from going into a restful sleep. It's really interesting, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation, but it actually alters your calcium channels in your receptors of all of your cells. And you have more calcium channel receptors in your brain than you have in any other organ in your body. I think your heart is next after that. And so, it could be that. And so kind of like there's some digging around that we could do on that. But the tips that Dr. Roseann gave you, try these things, go online, look at sleep hygiene stuff, practice your breath work. We are getting ready to, as soon as we're finished here with Q&A with Dr. Roseann, we're getting ready to do a repatterning session. I want you to see how you feel after you do that with us, because my guess is that your mind is going to be very still and you're actually going to be like, oh my God, I feel really calm. And this works for people. If it works for you, we're going to have it recorded. We already have a couple of other ones recorded and put up onto our Facebook pages so that you can do those 2 or 3 times a day. These are shorter sessions. And then also, yoga breath work can help. And we'll be talking more about that too in some upcoming sessions.
And this is somebody that says that they've had this as a pattern. So, I look at this time as an opportunity to work on yourself. Because guess what? What else you got to do? So, use this as that time. I think that's important. So I think the key is that people with sleep issues don't realize is they really need to have these things, whatever tool you're using, throughout multiple times in the day. And your brain and body spent a long time getting in a hyper state, and you might feel immediate relief, but you have to keep walking it down over time. This is something that's going to require consistency, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, at least a month. Yeah. So you got to create that brain change and the nervous system change for it to really let your homeostasis, your homeostasis for sleep is I'm not going to sleep. You've got to pare that down. And then Dr. Elena can help you with things like hormones, right? So that was my thing in perimenopause that all of a sudden made it. I was like, I'm Dr. Roseann. I do neurofeedback and biofeedback. How could I not be sleeping? Well, it was hormones. So I worked on that and I'm good. So, and it took some time. It wasn't an immediate thing. So it's important to do that. There is one good question here that I don't want to forget and is important related to teens is how do you reassure them and how do you help them when they're just getting so much media, social media? So what I like to do is I like to, say what are you seeing online? Oh my God. Or I'll say, we had this big thing here in Connecticut, made the New York Times, where somebody had a party in Westport, Connecticut, and then all these people got corona exposure. So it made the Times. Well, guess what? It's a great conversation piece. So it'd be did you hear about this? And then, have a conversation and then say what else are you hearing and whatnot? And then the next thing would be there's a lot of bogus stuff out there. There's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of stuff I hope you're, I know you're so smart. So you're being careful, but I also want you to go if you have a question, ask me. And, I'm happy to ask you these questions, but trust me, this is grapevine. For those of us that remember, you take 2 cups and you put the string in it and then you tell it, you have to pass on to people. And by the time it got to around, everything was altered. And so we need to use those kind of examples. And even if your kid is snarky with you when you respond, they're listening. So give them love, give them information, and then give a door that's open to them so that they can continue that conversation and, play games with them, force your teenagers, at our dinner table, we have a chess table set up. So they play chess every night at dinner. And when kids are active with you, more things of all ages, they'll do that. So, if your kids enjoy different card games in particular, it's really can be a nice way for things to just organically pop out of their mouths without you being like, again, grilling them like a police interview.
That's awesome. Before we finish up today, I want to see if anybody else has any other questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Perfect. Dr. Roseann, I already know this, but I just have to say it. You're amazing. I love you.
Well, you're pretty darn amazing yourself there, Doctor.
Thank you. I love what you do. I remember when I first met Roseann, she does have one of the strongest personalities that I've ever met. And it fits her perfectly for what she's doing and the type of work that she's doing. She's really a pillar of strength for people. And she inspires me too. And I just wanted to tell you that because I think as women and as humans right now, we need to lift each other up and we need to see how we can help one another. And I just wanted to tell you that, I do think that about you. I see you as a very strong pillar of strength for people. And thank you for being here for us. And we hope that you'll come back and join us, for some more Q&A. We're going to be doing this twice a week for as long as we need to help support everyone.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. And, also I am responding to a lot of messages on social and things like that. So, feel free to reach out. But this is wonderful that you're nurturing your community and you have a great team of people that are worried about your mind, body, and spirit. So, and those are all equally important, but I just want to say to people, you absolutely have the power within yourself. And it starts with you and how you feel and how you think. And, you can get through this and really sometimes even be stronger, as stinky as this is. Think about what you're going to gain in this and you can do it.
Thank you, Roseann. I'm giving you a hug.
Bye, ladies.
Bye. All right. So please let me know. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you for jumping on. I always love your input. First of all, I would love to hear from you guys. If there's something you're wanting to hear about, tell us in the Facebook post, what you would like to know more about. You can also put it here in the chat box. And again, we love you and I'm proud of you for reaching out, and, taking the time to connect with people who care about you, who love you, and so that we can, be the voice of calm and reason during this crazy storm here. And we love you. And thanks for taking the time today to put yourself first. Bye.